Alright, hello my 6th graders. This is Mr. Miles coming at you again with another podcast. This one's going to go over lesson 3. And it's going to be talking about domains and kingdoms. And if you remember, this last week we were talking about the 8 levels of classification. So 8 levels. And we talked about them. The acronym was Dumb Kids Playing Chess on Freeway Get Smacked, Smashed, Splattered, however you guys want to say it. You remember, as long as you remember the acronym, you can easily remember the rest of the words, and it goes domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Make sure you know these. Well, what lesson 3 gets into is lesson 3 starts to organize them in groups for you. So let's get into it. So the first thing that we see on those 8 levels is domain. And just so you know, there are 3 domains. The first one that you're going to run into is one that you should all be very familiar with. It's bacteria. Now, you may not be too familiar with why bacteria is bacteria. Pretty much what makes bacteria different from another single-celled organism. Well, bacteria, what it simply is it's a cell with no nucleus. Now, you're used to seeing pictures of cells like this, maybe. Here you have that little dark spot. That's the nucleus. And that nucleus will house the DNA. Pretty much all the genetic material that tells you how to be you. Tells your body what color to make your hair, how tall you should be, what your skin tone is. All of that information is contained within your DNA. Now, with bacteria, they still do have genetic makeup, but theirs is free-floating. It's actually circular, but I draw it like this just because you guys are probably used to seeing DNA as the double helix. So its DNA is free-floating. Bacteria also is classified by being unicellular. So it has no nucleus and it's unicellular. Now, the next domain we're talking about is, switch my pens back, archaea. And we actually did get to see some pictures of archaea. Remember when I showed you that picture of the geyser at Yellowstone? Well, what was making those really pretty colors and other things like that was the archaea. Now, these are the things I told you. They live in harsh conditions. They like boiling water or they like freezing temperatures. That's primarily where they live. And remember, I told you guys that thing about if we were to put them in 150 degree Fahrenheit weather, they would actually freeze to death. It would be too cold. And for certain ones, if we put them in 34 degree weather, it would be too hot. And they would burn up. They would die. And so archaea are very unique because they like these harsh conditions. This is where they thrive. And the other thing with archaea is that, like bacteria, they are also unicellular. So there you go. That's archaea for you. You'll start to learn more about these guys in high school and in college. These things are very interesting, and scientists, because of the harsh conditions that they live in, scientists are still to this day learning new and fascinating things about these because until recently they were relatively unknown. Now, the last domain that we're going to get into is the one that you guys belong to, and this one is domain eukarya. So domain eukarya. Now, in domain eukarya, you have 4 smaller groups, 4 subgroups, and these all belong to kingdom. So remember, the domain is eukarya, and these are going to be the kingdom. So the first one is protists, then fungi, then plants, then animals. Oops. If you want to sound really smart, it's animalia. And that's where we belong. We belong in animals. And we'll break down even further past that. Now, a lot of you know all about plants, fungi. I hope all of you do. You're aware. Somebody was confusing the other day saying, well, how come fungus is different from plants? Well, the reason is because plants, these are your autotrophs. You have some of these other ones, like you can have some strange animals that can actually become autotrophs, and you have some protists that can be autotrophs too. But with fungi, they're actually all heterotrophs. Remember, heterotrophs means you can't make your own food. You don't do photosynthesis. And fungus does not do that. It may look like a plant, but it is not one. And then, as you know, heterotrophs belong there and there as well. Now, protists might be something that you're not so familiar with. Protist is pretty much the grab bag of things that didn't fit everywhere else. Let me turn to page 24 and read from you exactly what it says from the book. It says, a protist is any eukaryotic organism that cannot be classified as a fungus, plant, or animal. Because its members are so different from one another, the protist kingdom is sometimes called the odds and ends kingdom. For example, some protists are autotrophs while there are heterotrophs. Some protists are unicellular, but some, such as seaweeds, are multicellular. So they can be unicellular, multicellular. They can get pretty wacky. So that's pretty much all you guys need to know. Quick review is, remember, bacteria, it's that no nucleus. They're all unicellular. That's the first domain. Second domain, archaea, they live in harsh conditions. They're unicellular. And then you have the eukarya, which breaks down to protists, fungus, plants, and animals. Now again, make sure you know this, because remember, that test is on Thursday. And so make sure that you're ready. Make sure that you know this and you can list this out. Knowing this information is going to be extremely useful, and we're going to use it when we move on to the next unit. So again, if you guys ever have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at bmiles@somersetnlv.org, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. There should be one more podcast coming out soon, which will cover the very last lesson that we're going to have before the test, evolution and classification. So we'll go over that, and then you guys will have your test. But before the test there'll be another podcast, and this one will be from all the review questions that you guys have. So be on the lookout for that. Be asking about that, and give any suggestions to things that you want me to go over when we do that. So this is Mr. Miles signing out, and until next time, you guys take care. Bye.